Good morning. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the intel that's coming out and being leaked into the general media in what I thought was really disturbing. Now, I'm not a Trump fan. I truly dislike what he stands for, how he carries himself, and his policies and so forth. But more than anything else, I care a great deal for the presidency and care deeply for our democracy. So it was bothering to me that there was release of intel from the intel community, capture signal intelligence of Trump, either staff or before he was elected, Trump Organization people who were chit-chatting with Russian sources. Now, I understand that it's of a concern to the intelligence community to see who is actively communicating with our adversary. That's part of their job. But it's another thing to capture signal communications from individuals who are American citizens, and they're communicating with Russians. That's fine. But when they're government employees of the administration and this information is being captured, then you have the intel community spying on one of our own. And that's a problem. Sure, the intel community needs to look for certain information, individuals who are counter to our form of government. But it's one thing to be a businessman or so forth, talking to Russian interests and so on, and being spied on. And it's another to leak certain key conversations about people who have been elected into office or their staff who are currently in the administration and leak that into the media. That upsets me greatly. It shouldn't be that way. The proper ethical, moral thing for the intel community to do is to have closed sessions where classified information can be shared with the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, not the media. And then the intel committees in closed sessions can review all the classified information, all the capture signals and what have you, all the conversations I've captured about whether Russians were talking to American citizens, whether they're talking to members of the administration. And it is the intelligence committees in the House and the Senate that have the right to open an investigation if what they seem is sufficiently meritorious of a violation of law. Let's say the Russians were in fact colluding to help Trump win the election. Let's say they specifically manipulated the election. That's fine. If that's the case, that's a huge violation of our sovereignty and our laws. But that's up to the committees in the House and the Senate to investigate and to have hearings, open hearings, put people on oath and conduct an investigation. Not this trial by the media where the intel community is releasing key information to news sources, and that's disrupting and destroying the administration's ability to carry on its duties. Now, again, I'm no fan of Mr. Trump. I truly dislike the man. Don't care for his agenda and what have you. But it bothers me that our intelligence community, which is a resource of the government, is leaking information to destroy members of the administration. Now, General Flynn would not have been forced out had the intelligence community not leaked those intercepts, which are classified, but they were leaked. And of course, that presented the fact that he was disingenuous to his supervisors and the President of the United States, and that certainly merited his removal. But that's not the real issue here. That's a separate issue. The real issue is how those intercepts were leaked to the media that showed Flynn to be disingenuous. Leaking that information is extremely criminal. It's highly classified. It's classified for a reason, and it's not the purview of the intel community to smear any members of the administration, regardless of who's in office. And that is very upsetting to our democracy. I mean, if you look at the way certain governments are destroyed, they're typically destroyed from within. And this is one feature that I particularly find offensive and disturbing. And I think that the journalists should take a step back, especially the left journalists. They should take a step back. Instead of just concentrating on smearing Trump and his administration, they should look at the leaks and look for motives of those leaks. And they should find out who is leaking that information, and they should prosecute them. Because the classification is there for a purpose. It's not for general dissemination. It is, if we have a problem in our government, if we have too much Russian influence before, during, after the election, that should be dealt with by the Congress. The administration as well, but by the Congress. It's their role, checks and balances. If, in fact, the Trump administration was colluding with the Russians and they bought the election or they influenced the election, let Congress show that. If the president really did do something of that nature, fine, impeach him. It's a trial in the Senate. Let the evidence come out, and then you could vote on it. Not this character assassination. So even though I don't care much for General Flynn, I do care the fact that he was smeared right out of office by the intelligence community. That upsets me. The folks in Fort Meade and Langley should not be in the business of rubbing out our leadership, whether they like him or not. And that's just the gist of my argument. I wrote a nice piece in Facebook, and I'd like to read it to you. This morning, news of the leak from the intelligence community, CIA, NSA, about Trump and the candidates and his campaign staff's connection to Russian assistance in winning the election is very disturbing. If the left media is accurate, NPR, New York Times, Washington Post, and they really have a credible source of information from the intel community, and I would assume this is not fake, then this appears to me to be a direct effort by the intelligence community to soil the current administration. General Flynn and his destruction by leaks of the intel intercepts was the first salvo from General Clapper, former NDI. The tone and direction of the allegations are slightly vague and slightly precise. That perfect mix to seed enough suspicion, yet not outright accuse Trump administration with collaborating with the Russians and on winning the election. Let's just assume that the media is accurate and that the intelligence leak of highly classified intercepts of Russian intelligence players discussing how they assisted the Trump campaign is utterly seditious and poisonous to our democracy. First of all, leaking highly classified information from Langley and Fort Meade is not only criminal, but it's immoral. Intelligence should only be used to assist the government in its operational needs, not subvert it. Second, if the intel community has credible intercepts that reflect Trump colluded with the Russian intelligence to win the elections or sway it toward his favor, then that is a grievous act against the country by a hostile entity that requires the U.S. Senate and House to act immediately. No foreign power can manipulate our elections, and no candidate can collude or pay for a foreign government in winning an election. It violates the heart of our democratic laws. The proper course of action for the intel community is to share in closed sessions with intelligence committees the intercepts, not leak them to the press, and allow Congress to start a bipartisan investigation. If true and accurate, then Trump should be impeached for high crimes. If exonerated, he should be portrayed as a victim of character assassination from our intelligence community, and they must be dealt with accordingly with indictments and trials. The left media must carefully report and delve into the motives and source of the leaks. The president is absolutely right that the real story here is the leaks. And if the media truly has any journalistic credentials intact, that would approach it from this angle, not just a smear tactic against administration. Now, keep in mind, I'm in no way endorsing or do I support the Trump presidency. As I said before, I think he's a fascist and utterly immoral. I really do. But what I value the most is the presidency, the office, regardless of who's occupying it. And we must demand answers from our elected officials to get to the root of the issue here. Is the intelligence community attempting to derail the president and to rattle him or intimidate him? Has someone in Langley or Fort Meade resurrected J. Edgar Hoover from his grave? I mean, is there a coup in the making here? This is all very unsettling and in no way how our government should be functioning. Either way, we should not blindly accept and allow these leaks of classified information to be tolerated. They should be investigated, and those responsible should be criminally prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Tolerating and condoning abuse of our intelligence resources for political gain is utterly immoral, unethical, and will kill our democracy in a blink. Now, that's just my 2 cents worth, but I really feel that we need to press our elected leaders on both sides of the aisle to get to the root of these leaks. My opinion. Let me know what you think. Thank you.